I didn't want people to just look at me like I'm some cripple.
The more she grows, the more the bones grows.
I'm having much hope that she's no longer gonna suffer.
From 4 years of not knowing, it just happened. We had our diagnosis.
October 2019, the world blissfully unaware of the pandemic that would soon change life in ways no one could have imagined. A motley crew of filmmakers, clinicians, communicators, patient advocates, and activists from across the globe embark on a rare quest, an impossible mission to find the missing, the undiagnosed, the unidentified.
The mission of Tin Soldiers really is to find every person in the world with an ultra-rare condition called fibrodysplasia ossificans progressiva.
I mean, if I have to think about ultimately what I hope for Tin Soldiers as a non-profit, is that we really become synonymous with finding FOP patients. You know, we found every single patient there is to be found in the world. They're connected to the care they need. They are happy and as healthy as they can be, and they're thriving. That would be our ultimate vision.
Fibrodysplasia ossificans progressiva, or FOP, is one of the world's most rare conditions. The genetic disorder causes ligaments, tendons, and muscles to slowly turn to bone.
This causes all kinds of problems with movement.
People with FOP are locked into an external skeleton.
I can only imagine it's the most devastating condition because you don't know how you're going to lose function, you don't know when you're going to do it, but what you know for sure is that the things you take for granted every day of moving freely will slowly disappear.
It's estimated that a child with FOP is born every 44 hours, and that globally, over 7,000 people are living without a diagnosis.
Not having a diagnosis is a tragedy in its own right because you can't give the family any idea of the future.
Their search for people with FOP takes the Tin Soldiers team to the unlikeliest of places.
If you were to picture a haystack and picture the bit that you'd never get to, this is that piece.
Dr. Scott and the team believe that in this tiny town, they may have discovered the first multi-generational family with FOP known on the African continent. Rian's can-do attitude belies the fact that he has lost much of his ability to move to FOP. Rian and Andy have not confirmed whether Rian Jr. also has FOP. But with the birth of their son came a clue.
Maar die duime en die twinkies, jy weet, ek dink mense het 'n genetiese toets nodig om te sê dis FOP nie. Wel.
We realized pretty soon that as much as we were looking for people with FOP, we were looking for the doctors.
It's a very strange, very terrible condition to have.
So as we're looking for people, we're also building this growing network of clinicians, anchors, leading lights around the world, who then become additions to this army of eyes. So, you know, an army of eyes, every time we educate, every time we go to a congress, every single thing we do, we want to build that army of eyes.
It's clear she's got a congenital problem, a genetic problem, but she certainly needs to get to Joburg to see the special doctors there.
In looking for patients with FOP, we've come across many other conditions, and I think it became a bit of a no-brainer for us to go, well, while we're looking, why not just bring along the people that we find that have other musculoskeletal conditions. We're already tapped into the same network of people who they would need to diagnose them and put them on a pathway to care.
Hou jy van dokters?
Ja,
En hoekom wil jy dokter word? Wat wil jy doen?
'n ambulans ry
Okay.
en siek mense help.
En siek mense help.
The journey has resulted in the identification and diagnosis of children with other rare musculoskeletal conditions.
From 4 years of not knowing to 4 days, it just happened. We had our diagnosis.
Dit voel vir my te oppervlakkig, weet jy? Want hierdie goed is alles subkutaan en hierdie voel vir my intradermaal, soos ons sou sê.
So the rare world is one that I'm understanding is very difficult to navigate, because especially if you're looking for ultra rare, because you're always faced with, but there's such a bigger need for other stuff. And we get that. But does that mean we leave the rare ones behind?
There's a bump here. Any other lumps? One here. Okay, here's a big one.
She certainly has a form of enchondromatosis.
Is it growing in size still?
Our mandate and our funding comes to look for people with an ultra-rare condition. But our mission is to not leave anyone behind, which is why we also make sure we educate about broader musculoskeletal. When those cases come up, we work very hard to make sure they're connected to pathways of care.
I'm not a doctor who does these operations, but my job is to get you to the right person who can help you with that.
At least maybe when I'm done with the operation, I could find my confidence. So I'm so happy for that.
Ek is baie bly want ek kan nou sien daar's nou hoop.
This is very exciting because the FOP model has shown us the power of this method of working and the power of connecting with people on an emotional level rather than just an intellectual, ethereal, scientific level. By the telling of that story, the potential impact magnifies 1,000-fold.